I'm the most unpolitically correct person you'll meet, and I'm very, very proud of that. I've done it all. There's no question about it. I love people betting against me. The whole hip-hop culture just, kind of stung me as a kid. I'm Kid Rock. I'm an American badass.
Kid Rock, you're on the record with Fuse. How are you?
Good, how you doing, man?
Or should we call you Bob? Because that's what you introduced yourself as.
Whatever you feel comfortable with, I'm good with.
What is this? Where are we?
This is, I guess you could call it the warehouse, world headquarters. It's kind of the spot where we all convene and work up our scheme to take over the world.
You're a bit of a king in Detroit. You're a regular man, but people love you around here and they love that you're still here. And
yeah, man, I mean, Rev Run told me years ago, go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. I give a lot of love to my city and the people where I'm from, and they give that back to me, and I don't think there's any amount of sunshine or pretty women or, living in any hills or big city anywhere that could ever outshine that.
when I look at you, I think working class hero. But you come from a nice, comfortable background.
Yeah, we had horses, we had a beautiful house. My dad had a car dealership. I gave up everything to be where I'm at right now. A job in the family business, a shot to go to college, and there was no backup plan to be where I'm at. And how can I explain this? It's I can honestly walk around with my head held high, whether people like me or not, and be proud of who I am, because even though I've made a ton of money, I've never made an unhonest dollar off one of my fans or a working man's back ever. And that's something I'm very proud of.
Where did you first fall in love with hip hop?
Man, it was probably Run DMC. The whole hip hop culture just, kind of stung me as a kid. I was the only white kid getting beat up at every concert that came to Detroit.
So when you're 14, you got kicked out of the house?
Yeah, somewhere around there. My brother was struggling with drugs. As a sibling, you had to go sit in these programs. I was just like, this is a bunch of horse. And I wouldn't open up, and so someone started picking on me. I was like, you can suck my... I was like, what do you think of that? And then next week, my mom said, you're gonna go back and apologize to everyone. I said, no, I'm not. And she said, cool, get your stuff out of here by the time I get home. I had some of my black friends from Mount Clemens came and got me, let me stay with them in the projects. And I think one time my mom came and picked me up for the dentist. It was really embarrassing. I'm like trying to be a crack dealer and a big DJ down there, and they're like, who's that? I'm like, oh, it's my mom. I gotta go to the dentist. I'll be back later tonight. See you.
And you had a real complex relationship with your dad.
Well, yeah, my parents didn't have a clue what I was up to. They had no idea what I was doing in my bedroom with, a couple turntables and, some old drum machines. But then when all these black kids started coming over and started picking me up and taking me to the other side of town to DJ parties, and they're like, what the hell's going on? So it was a lot of, just butting heads. My dad couldn't figure out, why do I want to go off and do this, In his eyes, I just wanted to be black.
Did you?
Yeah, I probably did for a while.
It's interesting. Your son is half black, right?
Yep.
And he...
Half white.
Half white, too. But how do you teach him or tell him, what it means to be black as well as what it means to be white?
I can't really tell him that. I let all my black friends tell him that.
I love your song, Black Chick, White Guy, from Early Morning Stone Pip. I mean, does it really tell the story accurately of the relationship?
Probably too accurately. I got sued over it.
Your boy listened to that and have...
I've never listened to it with him. I'm sure he might have dug it up here and there, but we've never really talked about it. When the time comes and he's interested, I'll sit down and talk to him, tell him the truth.
It's got to be a difficult sort of balance to have the rock and roll life, plus, you party.
Of course I do. It's actually kind of funny. I was up 6 o'clock in the morning, his first day of school, and I got a text from one of my friends in the business, and he goes, by the way, I'm not going to blow your cover and tell everybody that Kid Rock's up at 6 in the morning. And I texted him back, I said, hold on. I said, Bob Ritchie's up at 6 in the morning. Make no mistake, Kid Rock's passed out in a hotel somewhere with, 6 scantily clad women and a bottle of Jim Beam next to him.
But there's that separation that Bob is the dad, not Kid Rock, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you look around this place, it's all Kid Rock everything, and my house has nothing in it. Very modest, little farmhouse, set back in the woods that when I go out and rage, I go hard. But when I come home, it's a different mode. It's always one of the greatest compliments I get, you know. Forget the music and everything else, is when people say like, "Wow, what a great man, and what a nice son you have." And I think that's one of my biggest accomplishments in life.
Before you were huge, you were a studio janitor?
Pretty much, for lack of a better term, I was an engineer, and yeah, I swept the floors in the studio and tidied things up. And in return, they let me use the back room to record my independent records.
Can you talk about your dad bankrolling your label?
Well, you call it bankrolling. I asked my uncle for like 20,000. My uncle's like, "I can't do that unless you ask your dad first." I'm like, God, I do not want to ask my pop for this, man. That's the last person I want involved in this. My dad gave me like, he made me document everything, gave me like $4,500. And I turned that into about 120 grand in like 7 months. And I don't think he still got it. He was like, "Oh, that's cute, you know?" Like when I got my deal with Atlantic, the A&R guy will tell you, he's like, "Your dad was asking me during the show, after we just given you hundreds of thousands of dollars, he's asking, don't you think you could talk him into this just being a hobby, something he could do on the weekends?"
And you fought for it for a long time. You got dropped from labels twice.
Yeah, that was almost 10 years in after I put my first record out on Jive.
Yeah.
When I was 18. And with Devil Without a Cause, I knew what I needed to do. You know, this rap rock thing was coming, and I could see it coming like a freight train. I also knew that freight trains go fast, and it was gonna go like this. But I knew that was my door to get in.
You're hot in Detroit, but not really nationally. So what is the difference? Is it that you changed, that you got the right promotion?
Honestly, it was MTV. I knew that, you know, I'd sold 14,000 records out of my basement in the backseat of my car, locally. I knew kids were interested, and I just had to get to them. When we got the videos played, it got me to the people. And once it got to the people, we couldn't stop it.
I've heard you say that you just yell on the mic, but what you're doing is more sophisticated than just yelling.
Well, nowadays it is, but you know, a lot of stuff on Devil Without a Cause and some of my early records, just totally, you know, I'm on 150, you know, I'm 6th gear, pedal to the metal, just going for it. That's why I'm screaming, "My name is Cat." You know, I just pictured myself on top of a mountain screaming at God, you know, because it was my do or die record. It's not the drugs and the partying that I think get people so much, it's the fame.
When you were seeing Pam Anderson, some of the critics were like, "Oh, this is changing his focus.
This'll never last.
musically."
Boy, were they wrong.
I don't know. Did that change your focus musically at all?
I did nothing more than any other red-blooded male would have done. It's end of story. I know it's going to be part of my life,
I mean, this
because
is
she's so
something-
worldly famous. Like, I get it, but it's
Everybody
just,
wants to hear you talk about it a little bit. Why could it not work
at the
all?
end of the day, it was affecting my son. And that's where I drew the line. That's all I'm going to say about it.
I want to go back a bit to Devil Without a Cause. And a lot of that album is like sort of you speaking the future into existence. And you even say, "I'm going platinum." And the label was like, "Hey, let's not say that." And you were like, "No." Why was that important to say?
I'm not a freaky psychic. Like, I don't believe in, you know, all that mumbo jumbo stuff, but I can call stuff, man. I kind of saw this all coming. With I'm going platinum too, you know, I'm going platinum. You know, the record company did say, you know, "That's so cocky. You're just gonna alienate people right out of the box." I was like, yeah, but I am going platinum. Little did I know I was wrong. I was going 12 times platinum.
Picture is another situation like that. You make a record with Sheryl Crow, her label, your label are like, "Whoa, we don't know about this song." And you were like,
My
"No."
label told me that it would ruin my career. I laminated the lyrics. I'm like, this is gonna be worth tons of money someday. I can't believe I just wrote this. This is a #1 song.
Born Free is the new album, and you recorded it totally differently in LA, and it's a new band for you. So what is that like?
That was kind of Rick Rubin's thing. He put the band together. I didn't have anything to do with that. And it was, you know, probably one of the best things I've done. It was quite an experience, you know, to be with that caliber of players, you know, with people sitting in a room playing music together, very honestly, with great written songs.
It's a group of guys in a room playing together.
Yeah, what a concept, huh?
Right? Not like the guitarist does his part, and then this one does his part, and then you do the vocals.
And this day and age, too, it seems like such a crazy idea when it's really the the way it kind of should be done. Took 2 weeks we cut the record in. And I had a lot of free time, so I had a good time, to put it mildly.
Any stories from the good times that happened?
Exactly what everyone's thinking what I was doing. It's exactly what I was doing.
How long does it normally take you to make an album?
Months. I sit in the studio 14, 16 hours a day.
First single, Born Free, it's already blown up. And when you first listen to it, you think it's an Americana message, but you're really talking about being a human and having free will, right?
Yeah, really started to think deep about some of my travels and thinking how lucky are any of us, to be born in a country that's free. Kind of something I wanted to scream from the top of a mountain to people. You know what? I was born free. Thank you, Lord Jesus.
And that's very much what Kid Rock is all about. Do what you want, right?
Just try to be a good person. Don't hurt anybody, but, stand up for what you believe in. And at the end of the day, if I could check out his world and people go, that dude was all right, I'd be happy with that.
Going in a different direction here. There's no rapping, there's no scratching. It's a little more country.
Mm-hmm.
Why that shift?
To me, it's a natural progression. I'll always, credit hip hop and being a DJ as my roots. To me, that's the blues music of my day and age.
Right.
Jazz and blues spawned every form of music and touched every form of music until hip hop came along. And now, in this day and age, hip hop has touched, laid its fingerprints upon every form of popular music that's going on nowadays. When you hear songs like Cowboy and Only God Knows Why, there was tinges of country all over those songs.
Of course.
And with this one, Rick was really asking me to squeeze out, just dig really deep and look at what's going on around you. You can't, live in Detroit and Michigan and not see, the economic times that have really been the catalyst from the auto industry that have spread around the world, and not touch on that subject.
You got a song on the new album, Times Like These. You say Detroit is shutting down. Talk about how the recession has affected you in terms of your approach to your fans or your music or your image or anything.
Well, with me, it's mainly affected my heart because let's face it, I've put away some money for a rainy day. But just to see my neighbors and friends and people that I'm around lose their houses and their jobs and just struggling, really touched me. And doing the 2 stadium shows we did a few summers ago at Comerica Park in Detroit, I was like, we got to touch on this subject, but I want to do something. I want to have people in tears, but I also want to celebrate and have something inspirational. And that's what we did with the song Times Like These. But speaking of Detroit, that there's so many people here that want to see good things happen. And I feel in my heart that's what's going on in Detroit. Let's be resilient, get up, dust ourselves off, and recognize the great things in our city. Its history. There's no more style in any city in the world than there is in Detroit. It exuberates cool and style.
I look at a record like Care. It's T.I., it's Martina McBride, and you. What a bizarre little threesome. And I'm like, on paper, how's that gonna work?
Right.
And then it does work.
We weren't really going to have any hip-hop on the record, but I thought this was such a big song that having a rapper on there would just take it to another spot. Then I just said, man, what if we put a very classy country singer on here? Because it's going to work seamlessly. And then all of a sudden, when people look at it on paper, they're going to go, what the hell? But when they hear the song, that's all going to exit their mind because it's just a great song. Now, one of our guys gets killed, bam, wipe it off the face of the map. That town's gone. Now you walk in the next town.
Civilians.
Everything.
You've done a lot of that traveling to see the troops. Have you learned anything about yourself or about what they're doing by going into Iraq and Afghanistan, these places, and seeing
Absolutely.
What's going on?
Absolutely. You learn to really appreciate the sacrifice these kids make. My heart just goes out to these kids who we got to remember don't create diplomacy. They execute it.
But pull back a little bit, and what do you think about America militarily? Do you think there are places where we shouldn't be going in? Are there times when we should be supporting the troops by bringing them home?
From my travels over there and talking with these kids, they really believe they're doing a great thing. Wars are very horrid and people die. Women and children die. It's very sad, but that's how they happen. And talking to the guys over there, you know, it came to a point at one time in the war where they couldn't fire at people unless they were fired upon. And to me, that's not how it works. You know, if it was up to me, this sounds horrible, but it would be walk into a village and be like, where's these insurgents? You know, where are these people that are trying to, you know, kill us? And everyone keeps their mouth shut because they're scared. Now, one of our guys gets killed, bam, wipe it off the face of the map. That town's gone. Now you walk in the next town.
Civilians.
Everything. You walk into the next town and go, you guys want to tell us where they're here? I would guarantee people would start going, there's one right there, there's one right there, this guy over there is, you know, hiding bombs. I don't know if that's right, but that's just my viewpoint, and I'm sure I got a lot to learn, but that's how I really think of things day in, day out.
The Kid Rock live performances are always something special. You get up there and you just go nuts and you give them everything you got. What's your philosophy around performing and making sure you just leave your heart on the stage?
Really pretty simple, just be the greatest there ever was. That's what I got going on in my mind, you know. I dig being around people, you know. I try not to isolate too much unless it's very necessary. But on stage, you know, just there's nothing bigger, and I try to give that to the people and have them leave that show just with a smile on their face and saying, man, I had a good time.
Usually messed up on stage?
No, never.
Sober?
Well, I can't say I've never been, but yeah, I save that for after the show. I mean, I can say I balanced my life pretty well, you know. I've never been back and forth to rehab, you know, and I've done it all. There's no question about it. I still play around a little bit here and there and do things when I can. It's not the drugs and the partying that I think get people so much, it's the fame. You know, the people that don't deal with that in the right way. And there's no handbook how to do it.
You've inducted a couple people into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. 3 people. You inducted Aerosmith, is that correct?
Yes.
But you think that Aerosmith is losing a bit of their stature because Steven Tyler's doing American Idol?
Oh, man, I think that was a bad move for Steven Tyler. You know, he's an American rock and roll institution and just one of the best singers, American rock singers ever. There's no question about it, and I love him dearly.
There's a picture.
I hope Steven will still be friends with me.
There's a picture of you and Steven right over there.
Yeah, there's a picture of me and Steven over there, you know. I love him to death. I've learned so much from those guys.
But Idol's too poppy. He shouldn't be on a regular TV show.
I don't know. I'm conflicted with that whole system because when you look at, I don't knock the kids for going on American Idol.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're just trying to be stars and get
Right.
their music heard, but I disagree with the process of grabbing these kids before they've gotten out to experience some things and get some chops, get some scars, get some feel, play some clubs, learn how to write a song, you know, get kicked down a few times. It's like you launch these kids right into this limelight and they don't have the training for it. And I don't think there's any bigger curse in life than to be famous with no money. I think that's the devil's work right there. And I think this sets a lot of those kids up for that. It's funny to watch these kids go on there and watch them all tease them. That's humiliating, man. That's how people die. It's humiliation. People shoot people over humiliation. You get this kid standing there whose parents tell him, yeah, you're good. They might not know better. And this kid gets up there and does it and they, ha, ha, ha. It's like laughing at a kid in school.
So because Idol is messed up, and I agree with what you're saying,
endorse it.
He shouldn't, a legend should not be involved.
And let's face it, American Idol doesn't have any credibility. Has zero credibility.
Right.
And he has oozes of credibility. And I feel like he just threw it out the window.
Do you care if you ever get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
I would like to. I think that'd be a great accolade. Because I don't feel like there's a lot of politics involved in it. I like that it's about music. You know, these award shows, whatever they are, there's a lot of politics in them, man. Some of them I can tell you if I'm going to win an award before I even go.
Right.
It's BS.
But the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is different.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame yeah, I dig that, man. It's great company. That can never be a bad thing. My dad always said, if you want to be a painter, don't hang out with a carpenter.
Good stuff, man. Thanks, man.
You're welcome. Nice talking to you.